and play on 2nd and 10. That's his youth right there.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
Today I'll be continuing with my college football schedule preview and point spread prediction videos with the Alabama Crimson Tide. So this is a tough schedule, but the non-conference schedule I think is a little easier than last year because while they do still play at Florida State and get two guaranteed wins against the East Carolina, who was one of the best group of five teams last season, but won't be of any challenge to Alabama and Chattanooga, who's an FCS team. Last year they also played Wisconsin, and while I know Wisconsin is terrible, they're still a Power Four team. So while I know this isn't anywhere near a Nick Saban Alabama team, or they wouldn't have lost to Florida State last year. If Alabama and Florida State had played each other 10 times last year, I'm pretty sure Alabama would have won 9 of them. And I don't even think Kalen DeBoer will let a team as bad as Florida State sneak up on them again. But Florida State lost to Gus Malzahn, who was their offensive coordinator last season and was the closest one to a head coach on that staff last season. So Alabama will play three new conference opponents compared to last year. So last year they played Missouri and Oklahoma, and this year they will play Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M. And I'd say that makes it easier because Oklahoma and Texas A&M, I'd say, is about an even switch. And Kentucky and Mississippi State are both easier, I think, than Missouri. Alabama is 39-2 all time against Kentucky, and they were 6-0 against Kentucky under Nick Saban. Now they've not played Kentucky since DeBoer has been there, but the talent level at Alabama is not much lower now than it was under Saban. So this is one of those games that Kalen DeBoer has got to win. So Alabama will have three permanent rivals of Auburn, Tennessee, and Mississippi State. So Auburn is Alabama's biggest rival, and the Iron Bowl is one of the biggest rivalries in college football. And Tennessee is their other rival, and while it's not one of the biggest rivalries in college football, I don't think it does mean a lot to both teams, so it's not like they were going to get rid of it. So Alabama hasn't played Mississippi State since Saban retired, but they did play every year as SEC West opponents in what was called the Battle for Highway 82, because both campuses are located just off Highway 82, about 90 miles apart. But Alabama has dominated the series historically and under Nick Saban. So Mississippi State beat Alabama the first year that Saban was there when Alabama only went 7-6, but after that, Alabama has won 16 meetings in a row against them. This is another one of those games like Kentucky that Alabama has got to find a way to win. Look at this game against South Carolina that you probably don't think much of it because on paper it's a game that Alabama should win fairly comfortably. But I think it's going to be a sneaky tough game for Alabama because if you've watched Alabama play South Carolina these last 2 years. That you know that Alabama was in big danger of losing to them in the fourth quarter both times. And South Carolina is a team that I think is going to be quite a bit improved because I think their offense is going to be a lot better. It can really only be better than it was last year. And Beamer has done better in years like this year where there's no expectations except for maybe getting back to a bowl game. It's been when there's been high expectations, like last year, that he's done very poorly. But the four-game stretch of hosting Georgia, then going on the road to Tennessee, and then hosting Texas A&M, and then going on the road to LSU is probably the toughest in the country. Now, while Georgia is almost certainly the best team that Alabama is going to play on this schedule, a big difference with Alabama and any other team is they don't fear Georgia. If anything, Georgia fears them. Because if you've watched Alabama play Georgia these last 2 years in the regular season, coming into the game, even though Georgia was able to come back and make it close both years, Alabama seemed so calm and prepared with the coaching staff and the players, while Georgia's coaching staff and players it seemed the opposite way. And the Tennessee game is going to be a tough one, more because of the environment than the team, because Joey Aguilar was denied that extra year of eligibility for a good reason. So I'm not very confident that Tennessee is going to be a top 25 team in 2026. But Tennessee has the third largest stadium in the SEC and the sixth largest in the country with a capacity of nearly 102,000. And Texas A&M is going to be a preseason top 15 team. And LSU is an even tougher environment than Tennessee is, and are probably also going to be a better team than Tennessee will be. I think getting the bye week in between Texas A&M and LSU is a great time. And the LSU Alabama game I think of as a rivalry because back when there were divisions, that this game a lot of times decided the SEC West, and Texas A&M gave Alabama a lot of trouble in the last few years of Nick Saban, and that was when Jimbo Fisher was coaching them, and since then Texas A&M has greatly upgraded their coaching, while Alabama's greatly downgraded theirs, and the talent levels of both teams are about the same as they were when they last played 3 years ago. But good news is Alabama gets that one at home because Alabama has still only lost one time at home in these 2 years under Kalen DeBoer. And to have to play back-to-back road games, Alabama did good with the second one getting to play Vanderbilt. And I know you're probably thinking about what happened last time Alabama played Vanderbilt on the road, but that was a fluke, and Vanderbilt is not replacing Diego Pavia. I don't even think Kalen DeBoer would let Vanderbilt sneak up on them like that. Again, and good news is they get Auburn at home. Alabama has dominated this series overall recently, but is especially at home. Alabama's won the last seven meetings with Auburn and Tuscaloosa. And Alabama's ceiling with this schedule, I don't think is 12-0 because while they are talented enough that they could beat any of these teams on their schedule. I think 11-1 is the best they can do because I don't think they're coached well enough to go at 12-0. But a big question is what happens with Kalen DeBoer if Alabama goes 9-3, which I think there is a good chance of happening. And if it does, they're almost certainly missing out on the college football playoff. And while it would be crazy for most teams to even consider firing their coach after a 9-3 season, with Alabama, that's probably not the case. There is a minus at the beginning of the spread. That means that Alabama is the favorite. If there's a plus at the beginning of the spread, that means they are the underdog. A 20 plus spread is a blowout, and there are three of those, East Carolina, Kentucky, and Chattanooga. And a 10-19 spread is medium, and there are three of those, Florida State, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. A 6-9 spread is close, but there'll be a clear favorite, and there's two of those, South Carolina and Auburn. A 1-5 spread means it's almost a complete toss up, and there's four of those, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and LSU. So if I had to guess exact spreads for these games right now, I'd say Alabama would be about a 30-point favorite over East Carolina and about a 21-point favorite over Kentucky and about a 50-point favorite over Chattanooga and about a 14-point favorite over Florida State and about a 13-point favorite over Mississippi State and about a 14-point favorite over Vanderbilt. And I'd say Alabama would be about a 7-point favorite over South Carolina and a 7-point favorite over Auburn. But only because it's at home. If it was on the road, Auburn would be in the 1-5 range. But if Auburn does turn out to be bad again, then I think Alabama will be a 10-point favorite in that one. And Georgia, I'll say, will be favored by a point over Alabama. But I do think there is a chance that Alabama could be a small favorite in that one when it comes time for it to be played because it's in Tuscaloosa. But I'll say Alabama will be a 5-point favorite over Tennessee. But that would be in the 6-9 range if it was a home game. And I'll say Alabama will be a 4-point favorite over Texas A&M. And I'll say they'll be favored by a point or two over LSU. But because that game is on the road, I do think there is a chance that when it comes time for it to be played, that LSU is a slight favorite. But even since Saban has been gone, Vegas has very rarely picked against Alabama. The only times that Alabama has been an underdog these last 2 years have been every time they've played Georgia and when they played Indiana. So that'll be it with this video. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.